to talk about the term that has been used all through Twitter. I'm sure we all have Twitter and Instagram, which is
I feel
female.
like I'm super sensitive to that term now, and this kind of happened within the last like 2 or 3 years. It's more like I hear when I hear men use it as well, I hear a lot of men, even when I hear women use it, I'm like, oh, do we have to say that? But I think it's just because I don't like the idea of one, like women being reduced to, it just feels like it's reducing you to like genitalia and
Yeah,
like,
your
you know,
anatomy.
your anatomy and your like physical being as a woman. And I'm a bit like, okay, I don't think that we need to talk about women in this way. And then I think when men use it as well, I know a lot of the time that men use it in a way that's like quite, I would say it's like degrading, but it's one of those things that men find it so natural to use that, but refer to themselves as men, but refer to women as females. And I just don't really understand why that language has been attached to men, and this language that's essentially could be deemed as derogatory or degrading to women is used all the time as a means of describing us. So I just think that I'm sensitive to it. Like I hear people say, I've heard my brother say a lot, and I'm like, no, can you say women instead? Do you have to say female? I don't understand why, you know. And I'm always kind of trying to pick people's brains on it, and really trying to get to the forefront of why I feel so uncomfortable with it too. But yeah, it's a mixture of me kind of policing people, but also being like, why does this term feel really uncomfortable? And I think it is for some of those reasons.
Yeah. Did your brother ever say like why? Why
Like,
he
why are you saying
uses?
that? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
always like, oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, why are you so, you know? And I'm like, ugh, it's not
Yeah.
actually about that. Like, you never hear women talk about men and say males. You just never
Yeah.
hear people say that, like, oh, these males. Like, no one does that. It's like, why have we normalized the term female in the same way that we might use the word men? I just don't really get it.
Yeah, I feel like also what you're saying, pop culture, like it normalizes so many like bad terms, or it reworks certain terms.
Not specifically about that term, but as a linguist, as a language student, I always find it really interesting, sort of the importance and the impact that our choice of words and our choice of language has. And I think often, like Sharon said, it's often dismissed as, oh, you're being too sensitive, it's just a word, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, and a lot of the men in my life have often done that when I've pulled them up on a phrase or a word that they've used that I've disagreed with. But I really think that we don't give it enough importance, and I think words do have a lot of power. And even if a word might be innocent on its own, if it's regularly used in a derogatory way, then that word and the context of that word changes over time, and it ends up having a different kind of power. And I think people underestimate that. So
for example, go on TikTok, every single time you hear someone say female, is it either to say something sexist or to criticize women for anything, so why female have this, why female do that, and it just, no, don't say it, say women. And on Twitter it happens the same. Every time you read female, it's like followed by something that it's inappropriate, and they know that, because I don't say, hey, why males are doing this, as Sharon said, because it doesn't make sense, and it's just like, why? It's just why, and I agree with you when you said that it's similar to the B word, because yeah, I go, like, when I'm joking or anything, I call my friends the B word or just something like this. I'm sure everyone has done that, but when it comes from a man, it's not the same, because we are used to see it to be used against us, that word. So yeah.
So how do you feel about this movement, and do you feel it has actually impacted the culture?
They understood maybe how frequently it happens, but I don't know if they realize that they, like, talking about the men, how little they do to stop these situations, because we know that they could with just words or with friends that they know the things that are bad. And I feel like, I don't know if they don't care, if we are just thinking about it all the time, so we are more aware because of that, and they do not realize. I sometimes feel like they really just don't care.
Knowing what you know about it, do you feel like it has caused like a polarity between different groups of women? Like it has caused a divide?
I mean, I think obviously every kind of big political movement often always causes some kind of divide. I I understand how some people can view it as problematic, but in my opinion, I think generally it has raised a lot of awareness, and it has kind of called out a lot of people, and kind of a lot of high profile people as well have come forward, and that's really made an impact in terms of, I think, just people realizing how common it is, and people who've experienced it and thought that they were the only one kind of realizing that they're not alone, and actually maybe having a bit more courage to say something and to do something about it. Yeah, I think any kind of movement that kind of raises awareness or puts a spotlight on a problem, and just encourages people to communicate with each other about their shared experiences is a positive one.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree, Ella. I think it's so important. And that idea of creating a movement and creating a space in which people can share their experiences, especially given the nature of what the Me Too movement is about. I think it's more of a positive. I think it's more of a hasn't done as much damage as people may think it has. I mean, there's always going to be a few people who don't agree, or who kind of hijack the movement for selfish or other reasons to like negate the problem. But ultimately, I think it's given a lot of women the courage to speak out, to share. And, you know, as these conversations continue, it's only going to, I think, give people the space.
Spain, we didn't have the Me Too movement. We had the Yo sí te creo, I do believe you, and it was a hashtag just as Me Too, and it happened between 2016 and 2019, and it was after a gang rape case that happened in Spain. It was called La Manada. I'm sure Clara and Agustina might have heard about it. And yeah, in my opinion, and what I have seen, is that, as Ella said, it gave a lot of courage to other women to talk about their experiences. And I've seen so many heartbreaking like tweets where women who have experienced like sexual assault like a decade, 2 or even 3 decades ago, and they started talking about it like now because of this movement, and because they saw that they weren't alone, and that other women were saying, yeah, I do believe you, please like talk about it, you know, because we're here.
Over time, this has been used as different interpretations, has come different ways, first, second, third, feminism to womanism, so many different categories under feminism. Do you identify as a feminist, and what constitutes your identity?
I am a feminist. I do consider myself a feminist, and it is mainly because I had some rights that were taken away from me, and I kind of want them back, you know, going to the part where I'm a woman of color. And when I do take part in some, I don't know, some projects, anything in general, you know, and it comes with like some rules, you know, because it's kind of, yeah, you're a woman and you are like basically just by default you are like you're not as equal as men, you know, in that project or whatever I'm doing. But at the same time, it's like, you're a woman of color, you are not from here, you know, so that is additionally something that comes with it. And yeah, it's just feminism helps me to, I don't know, to talk about this and to give awareness, and yeah, to say, hey, this is wrong and we don't deserve this.
Yes, well, I am a feminist. I believe that that's the way. Maybe people are scared of the term, and there are obviously just like divisions within the movement, and that happens everywhere. I believe you have to coexist with everybody, right? But I believe it has made me like stronger personally. I feel like I speak up more for what I believe which I did not before. I was afraid of all the time of being taken like a joke. And I feel like it gives me a space to relate to people that has the same experience as me. And I really like it. I really love it.
Clara, because years ago I wasn't personally strong, and thanks to the feminism, to the feminists, I became stronger. I'm now maybe capable of speak up for myself when I feel that I don't deserve how they are treating me, like more men accept me. So yes, like we do feel stronger and that we support each other within women. So yeah, I do agree that we can feel stronger and relate to other women and how they're feeling.
I identify as a feminist. I think that, yeah, some people are afraid of the term for various reasons, because they misunderstand what it means, or they're afraid that it means that they hate men, or you know, the various like stereotypes which we know are untrue. I think as well, obviously feminism historically hasn't always been as inclusive as it should be. So I think the kind of recent waves, or we're in fourth wave feminism now, and it's kind of much more intersectional than it used to be. And I think, you know, we're going in a great direction. So yeah, I'm kind of really excited to be a feminist in the 21st century.
Personally, I would say yes, I'm a feminist, because lately I've been realizing that women are always right in most of the aspects. Yeah, mostly in domestic violence or any other violence. Mostly by nature, women are just the soft type. They are tender, and we feel so we are lovely. This is who we are. So I feel like most of the times when there is domestic violence, and I'm actually seeing that the world is taking it to a higher level. They've been putting laws that protect women, and I'm actually loving it. And as I talk to my friends, most of them really come to me and they're asking this, what happened between me and my boyfriend. My boyfriend is doing it. Like, okay, we need to fight for ourselves as girls, as women, because it's just sister to sister. We have to be strong as women. And I actually give advice to give a hand to my sisters that want somebody to lean on. So yeah, I can say I'm a feminist. Yeah.
Okay. And Ella talked about why people may be afraid of this term. I wanted to hear about your country specifically. Why are people afraid of the term feminist?
If you are a feminist, they take you as somebody you want to take over. It is really hard to be a feminist. People don't take it as it. They misunderstand the term feminist. So it's really hard to say, yes, I'm a feminist, maybe in Zimbabwe, but only if you form a small group of you guys trying to advocate.
The same as it happens in Zimbabwe. People think that feminists want to like just erase men from the map, you know, and take over everything, and maybe that we want to like go and walk naked around the world, and they just have that radical idea that I really don't know where it came from, you know. But yeah, they're just afraid to lose that that power that they hold, you know. And here in Spain, it happens. It's the same, like, believe it or not. They think like men who are against like feminism, and some women who are against feminism, because they don't understand what the term like means and what it comes like what it comes with.
Next question, do you think that there are issues within the feminist movement?
Like, for sure. I believe it's something so big that there are going to be issues. Well, I cannot speak for POC people, but I know that there's like the white feminism, and that just completely it doesn't take into consideration people of all races or low income and stuff like that. That's what I know.
Yeah.
we in Spain we also use another word that I don't know if it's in English as well, but neo-feminism, and it's basically to describe women who have like higher, well, they are like high class and well they have money, you know, and they are basically white people with money, so they kind of just dismiss and just gaslight the experiences of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and women of color, and like poor women. So they use feminism for their advantage and to say, yes, I'm so oppressed in my way of living. As like, just no, you are not, like you. I'm not saying that you are not in that context, you know, but just don't compare it to being like poor and being BIPOC, you know, because it's not the same.
Often the issue is kind of ignoring the fact that all of the different kinds of oppression are so closely linked, and you can't just look at one and not look at the others. You can't just like look through like a really narrow lens, and that's why kind of trying to understand how race and how class and how kind of sexism all interlink.
Name some stereotypes of women in your country.
Husband, widows or husband snatchers.
Husband snatchers?
Yes.
Wow. And why, do you know why that is?
Because
why they say that?
They are lonely, they need somebody to keep the company. So men, the people's men are supposed to stay away from them.
See, and it's kind of a cliche one, but it's definitely something that is a word that's used mainly for women, and men who have the same kind of traits won't get called bossy.
When you try to explain yourself or get angry because of something, like they don't think, oh my god, she's bossy. They literally just say she's crazy, like she's nuts. That's what they believe.
In Morocco, it's more that it's romanticized the idea that men have to protect women and be like jealous, you know. So jealousy is so romanticized, you know, and with that comes the like normalizing toxic behavior, you know. So yeah, we can get into this discussion another day, you know, if jealousy is toxic, if it's not, you know. But when it comes to like taking it and making it like the whole thing in the relationship, you know, and being like jealous because I care about you, because you are my partner, you know, it's just that it's romanticized and it's bad.